Hi everybody, Ben Corfield here. I'm Pat McFadden, who is the MP for Wolverhampton South East, and I'll be interviewing him for Parliment Week 2018. The questions I am about to ask were put together at DemJam 2018, which was a hackathon that brought together the young people of Dudley, organised by New Union, Dudley Youth Council and Dudley Youth Service in association with Black Country Radio, which was held in the Dudley Council Chambers. The questions are set on the four themes that the young people of Dudley identified as the most important youth issues that affect Dudley. Those are mental health, homelessness, crime and employment. If anybody out there has any views on this interview, you can reach out on Twitter using the hashtag DemJam. Okay, Pat, are you ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
How can the curriculum be changed, altered to improve awareness of mental health and access to support?
I think one of the good things that's happened in recent years is that when we talk about health, we no longer just refer to physical ailments. There's a much more broad recognition that mental health should be treated with parity of esteem, with physical ill health, and I think that recognition is good. The question is, does the recognition mean anything in terms of where funding goes and so on? And on that practical level, I still think there's a long, long way to go. And when you look at frontline public services, and in a way, an MP's office, like the one that we're sitting in, is a frontline public service, but also policing, obviously the health service itself. All of us are coming across serious mental health issues in the community, and it's not always easy to get people the help they need. And for example, with young people, sometimes we've found in dealing with constituency casework here that it can take a long time through the CAMS service for people to really get the help that they need and have to wait a long time. So I'm pleased with the parity of esteem that has come about more in government rhetoric, but I'm less pleased with the progress on the ground in terms of the resources available to treat it. So to be honest, I think we've got a long way to go.
So, you know the cost of everyday items. Why is the rate of homelessness increasing, and what are you going to do to change this?
Homelessness, well, I don't like to be too partisan in an interview like this, but when I was part of the Labour government some years ago, we made good progress on reducing street homelessness in particular, and I've noticed it rising. I've noticed it rising here in the West Midlands, and I notice it during the week when I'm in London in Parliament. So I think this is a really urgent issue. There's a lot behind it. There's a lot of poverty. There's been a lot of cuts in provision, and we've seen more people sleeping rough on the street. I'm really worried about it. I think we need more housing for people. But it's not just a matter of a roof over people's heads. Sometimes people who are street homeless have got other things going on that they need help and support with, and so you really need a really focused package for people, because we can't, as a society, tolerate a situation where a growing number of people are sleeping under bridges or in parks or wherever it is they're managing to find somewhere for the night. That's just inhuman in a country as wealthy as this. So I think it's a growing problem, and it's got to be tackled with growing urgency, and at the moment I don't see that happening.
How can we deter young people from resorting to crime, and what do you think influences them?
Well, I think the crime levels are really worrying, particularly knife crime and violent crime. And if you take the West Midlands, the number of victims of knife crime under the age of 18 has more or less doubled over the last 5 years. So that is a shocking increase. And at the same time, we've lost 2,000 officers from the West Midlands Police Force in the last 8 years. And so concerned have I been about this issue that I organised a parliamentary debate this week specifically on the subject of policing and police numbers, because we can't continue with a situation where we're cutting the number of police when crime is going up. On violent crimes in the West Midlands, in the last year, many of them have gone up by factors of around 20%. This is really, really worrying, and knife crime is probably the most worrying thing at the moment. It's not just the West Midlands, it's all around the country. We had a spate in London several weeks ago where 5 young people were killed in less than a week. And this is appalling, and some of them are very young indeed. So I think we have to, as a country, treat this as the crisis it is. It's not solely about policing. Many people advocate what they call a public health approach to this, where all the agencies have got to work together. It's been done with some success in the city that I grew up in Glasgow, which used to be a much more violent place than it is now. They've managed to get on top, or at least seriously reduce the knife crime that goes on there. It's taken years and a really coordinated approach. We haven't had that success in England so far, so I hope we can learn from what's been done there. But we've also got to stop cutting our police force. We need more police in the streets, we need more visible presence, and we need proper punishments in place for those who are caught carrying a weapon. And my advice to any young person watching this video is, don't think that the way to respond to this is to carry a knife yourself, because the chances are that could result in an appalling tragedy, and that's not the way to go. We need fewer knives being carried, not more, and we need proper policing.
Why do you think we have a higher than average unemployment in Dudley? In your role as an MP, what are you going to do to change this?
The unemployment figures come out every month, and I'm old enough to remember the swings and circles over quite a number of years. And it's true that across the country we've gone through periods. When I was your age, unemployment across the country was a lot higher than it is today in the headline figures, but those figures mask some very spiky patterns. And in this constituency, for example, unemployment has gone up by about 700 over the last year, and youth unemployment has gone up too. So I think there's a real danger of complacency among ministers every month when they talk about quite good, historically speaking, quite good unemployment figures across the country, but it doesn't mean that's the case everywhere, and it doesn't mean there's not spikes of high unemployment. And unfortunately, here in the Black Country we do have one, and my constituency and others have seen unemployment going up. And we've got to get at this at its root, because if someone's out of work for a period of time, it becomes much more difficult to get them back in. One initiative I've taken here is we've launched our work experience programme a couple of times and ran it with local employers, and through that we put 500 local young people through work experience, of whom 200 got jobs. So that's something practical that we've done here locally to help unemployed young people into work.
Some young people have lived and are living in conditions where they don't know where food is coming from for them for the next day. Poverty can give long-term health issues, including mental health issues. What will you do to prevent this from happening for this generation?
Well, this is about big national forces and big national decisions that are affecting us. We've seen more people become reliant on food banks. We've got this new benefit that people will talk about, universal credit. I've got 3,000 households in my constituency dependent on this, and I've found out that those who are council tenants who are in receipt of universal credit, 2/3 of them are in rent arrears, and the level of those rent arrears is growing fast. So there's some big national decisions being made here. I think we've got to make sure that people don't lose out when they transfer from one set of benefits onto universal credit. That's one small thing that we could do. I think dealing with the higher than average unemployment levels locally is one thing we could do. And as I say, our work experience programme helped to address that to some degree. But really what's happened here. The reason there's a lot more poverty and people really struggling for some basic things like food is those on the lowest incomes have been hit by a number of decisions. Tax credits have been cut, and the universal credit changes have really hurt families. So some of this is out with the control of any single MP. It's about national policy decisions, and active MPs like me or my neighbour Ian Austin in Dudley North, we're there in Parliament every week campaigning for change to these things to try and help the people that you're talking about.
Thanks a lot for the interview, Pat, and we hope so we're watching closely over the next year, and we hope we can catch up again in Parliament Week 2019.
Thank you.
And before we go, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I'm very happy to answer your questions.
That's perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
And there you go, there's the interview. If you want to get involved in the conversation on Twitter, you can use the hashtag #DemJam to start the conversation. Thank you all, goodbye.